Services. Welcome to our weekly free training. This week we will be training on HAZCOM. So if you are here for the first aid, that will not be this week. That will be in the next coming weeks. We inadvertently sent out the wrong reminder. But we will be doing first aid at a later date. But today we will focus on HAZCOM, hazardous communications, which is essentially managing chemicals. I don't have any clients that do not have some kind of chemical at their facility. Even when it comes to construction, they have chemicals. They have diesel fuel and various other kinds of chemicals. So everybody's got some kind of product that they use that requires a safety data sheet and requires training for their employees. And I will be covering HAZCOM. I typically will use the OSHA 10 curriculum, and we will follow that, but not in detail. I just want to give you a good overview of what's required and how to manage some of the more common things that we encounter at job sites and in construction and in general industry. So it's kind of a hybrid in between both industries. SDS management is pretty straightforward. You have an SDS, you keep it on file, you make it available to your employees. It's really simple. The training can be a little complicated, and of course, the more dangerous products you have on site, the more training and other things that you will have to do to keep your employees safe. And that's the key, is to keep everybody safe and get them home at the end of their shift. That is the key. That is the purpose for ROI Safety Services. That is my goal as a consultant. And when I was working in industry, of course, that was the day-to-day activities that I was involved in. So again, my name is Jesse with ROI Safety Services. We are a full-service compliance company, and we are located in Southern California, but we serve the entire U.S. And I will get started with the training. Again, this is part of OSHA 10 class. I just take various modules out of OSHA 10. So you can see the formatting is going to be, what our objective is to go over the HAZCOM program, describe how it works in industry, and it does cover construction and general industry and other various types of, mine safety and other types of industries. That we're going to cover labeling and, how to manage, your entire HAZCOM program. This must be documented. There are some new requirements. These aren't new. These are very old. They're already integrated. The GHS standard is already in place. I don't see this being neglected at any facility that I go to. Everybody has these requirements in place in terms of the vendors purchasing products. That doesn't mean that our customer has the training requirements in place, but typically we want to make sure that everybody understands that the HAZCOM program is really 7 major elements. So you need training, you need a safety data sheet, you need to have a labeling system. The labeling system should have some kind of warning label, and then what kind of hazards are you dealing with, and it's pretty much going to be all with pictograms. Very simple. SDSs are very simple to read, but not everybody is going to know how to read it unless they get some kind of training. And so we're going to briefly cover those. So the employer's response, and this is what I want you who are watching this, if you're an employer, whether you're the owner, the manager, whatever role you're in, this will come on to your area of responsibility. So you need to make sure that that you as the employer understand these requirements. Everything must be labeled, okay? Everything. We should never go into an area where a drum is not labeled or a bucket's not labeled. Just put a label on everything. Even if you think it's non-hazardous. I'm not even sure if there's anything non-hazardous these days, to be honest. I don't, I just want to put a label on a bucket that has water on it. And I'm not even exaggerating on that. So just put labels on everything just to be safe. if you're in the chemical industry, this should not be anything new for you. Everything has a label or must have a label, and the labels must be legible. They shouldn't be written in code. Uh, they should be written in plain English. If it's bleach, you can just put bleach on it, and it'd be nice if you had a night. If it's, depending on the grade of bleach, maybe you need to put a corrosive sticker on there. So that is the responsibility of the employer, to have a clearly defined way of labeling all of your chemicals on site. Everything needs to have a safety data sheet. Does that mean whiteout? Yes. I'm going to tell you yes. Just have SDSs on site. And I'm kind of joking about whiteout, but really you should have everything available. Some companies have bulk whiteout, I guess. I don't know. The company that makes whiteout, they have an SDS for it. You know, I have clients that have just regular detergent that it's really, there's really nothing hazardous about it. But everybody, they have an SDS. They have an SDS for their product, for their vendors, from their vendors, and to their customers. So the whole system of labeling and chemical management should have SDSs available for every phase of your process. So ensure that they're readily available. And really, to get a good system in place, the purchasing department should be ordering from vendors, and immediately you should have on your purchase order SDS required, and then the vendor will automatically send you the safety data sheet, and they're probably doing it already. There's nothing new here, other than getting it done and doing it and ensuring that you have SDSs on site. This is extremely important, and this is not a big burden for industry to request a safety data sheet from everybody you purchase from. I have many companies that have hundreds of SDSs, and that's pretty normal. It's just part of doing business in the US. You have to have a safety data sheet. I prefer to keep everything on a digital format, on a network. Some of our clients are keeping hard copies, and that's fine. Whatever you choose to do, just stick with it and do it. Keep it up to date. Provide information to all of your employees, especially new hires. So as soon as you hire somebody, you've got to get them trained up on how to read and understand a safety data sheet. It's one thing to know about something, right? It's another thing to understand it, and that is where the HAZCOM program has been updated. Not recently, I think it was 2012, maybe even later than that, but it's been a long time. There's nothing new here. There are some new standards coming up if they haven't been passed already for HAZCOM. But for right now, if you don't even have safety data sheets, you got to get these now. You got to get a program in place in terms of training all of your staff regularly. And I do mean regularly. Does that mean annually? Sure. If you want to do it annually, do it. If you want to do it every quarter, every 6 months, whatever you want to do, I don't recommend you go longer than a year without training on HAZCOM in some way. And what I mean by that is just reviewing a safety data sheet together in your department, reviewing the basic HAZCOM or chemical safety program, and going over a safety data sheet, a general one. Some kind of training should be done regularly. Now, you may want to see everything in black and white, where it doesn't really have, OSHA doesn't really have a requirement for this, for an annual training. I would argue that OSHA basically is leaving it on the employer, that if you have a change in the program, a change could be something as simple as having a new SDS or something, or a chemical change in your formulas. You should have training on that. Rather than wait for that, I would just do training annually, or even less, or even more frequent, every 6 months or every quarter, and just review a safety data sheet. That is what I suggest everybody do. Develop and implement a written HAZCOM program, and this is a hard requirement. You have to have a hard whether you print it or keep it on a network, it must be a documented written program on how you manage safety data sheets. That's it, right? That's it. Is it that simple? I think it's pretty simple, but is it easy to do? No, this is not something easy to do. And it's not something that you're going to do without some guidance. And so this is the basic flow of how things work. Chemical manufacturers, importers, they're the ones who are going to create the SDSs. They're going to ship them to you. You, the employer who purchased the products, are going to have them in your receiving area. And then you should have an SDS for everything that comes into your shipping dock. You keep those on file, you train your employees, and you keep everything current. That's pretty simple, right? It's easy to do, but difficult to manage. List all your hazardous chemicals you have on site, label everything. And here's something that some states do differently. California requires that each company have an inventory of chemicals. And if you exceed their thresholds, which are not very high, you need to register for a CUPA program. In California, there may be other states that this applies to. I don't know of any. Texas might have some, and this would be under the right to know standard. So check your local requirements. If you have any requirements that mandate that you keep a list of products and make them available even to the public, even to the EPA or whatever state you may be in, make sure that you have all of that available. Okay, this may take a little bit of research on your end depending on what state you're in. And then of course you need to have, the product identifier, like what is this product? Is it flammable? Is it dangerous? Is it corrosive? So we need to make sure that we identify all that and label them accordingly. This includes chemicals in containers, pipes, and those generated by work operations. This is when it gets to the more detailed, specific requirements in your shop. Now, I've said this, if you listen to my free podcasts in the past, everything needs to be site specific. There's no getting around going to J.J. Keller and buying a template and not putting work into the program. You have to put work into every program. It must be site specific. So there's going to be some research, some inspections that need to get done, and it is not just, go to J.J. Keller or go to DuPont and buy a video and do that. Those are good, they work, but you still need to have site-specific work. If you got pipes that need labeling, you need to find them and label them. If you have products that you need a safety data sheet created, you need to do that. It's not just gonna, happen on its own. You're not gonna go to a J.J. Keller and they're not gonna make an SDS for you. If you guys are creating products or reblending material, I have many clients that take products from various companies and basically make their own formula and then ship it off to a client, and they don't even have safety data sheets. That is going to get you in trouble if you're doing that. So whether you're blending it or creating a new product, you need to have your own safety data sheet. You just can't copy somebody else's and give it to the client. You need to have your own. There is a requirement that you create your own 16. It doesn't need to fall under the ANSI standard, but you must have, I believe it's 9 different categories that you must have for your safety data sheet. But of course, everybody's using the 16 section format. That's what we recommend. You need to have it available, and it needs to be readily available. You need to know where to get it. Okay, so I recommend one person manage safety data sheets. Typically, your purchasing group can order the product. You request the SDS. When the product comes to your dock, you have the SDS. You review it. If there's anything significant in there, you want to train your folks on it immediately, and keep that on file and make sure it's labeled appropriately. If you're going to repackage product, of course, you're going to need to relabel it. So have an internal labeling system is what I recommend. this again, it's really simple but difficult to manage. You got to have people responsible for each stage of ordering these products. So you can see here some examples of products that, or repackaging of products that just are not getting labeled properly. The ones on the left, the squirt bottles, I have no idea what that is. I'm sure the person working in that department knows what it is, but I don't, and maybe somebody coming from another department doesn't know what it is. We're pretty sure that that's alcohol, but why would you put alcohol in a water bottle, in a 1 liter water bottle? Is it drinking alcohol or is it the other kind of alcohol? I don't know, but it needs to be labeled, and these are the kinds of things. This is pretty much a daily thing that we see when we do inspections. And here's another example. This is for, anybody can pick up this acetone at pretty much any department store. And they have pretty good labeling there. Each SDS should have at least 16 parts to it. You can see these are the breakdown of each part. I'm not going to go over each one. This is a totally different training. So here we go. So there's 10 sections that need to be required, that need to be in the SDS, but we do recommend that everybody that is doing 16. I don't have any SDSs with less than 16 sections to them. So you can see here you got the NFPA diamonds, or the pictograms. I'm sorry, these are the pictograms. Up top is the NFPA. And then you have all containers with hazardous material must be labeled. You must have a warning on it and a snapshot of what the hazards are. That is the recommendation or the requirement. And then the documentation for labeling is have a designated person responsible for the labeling of your entire system. And again, you can go to most Grainger and other types of industrial resource stores and get labeling. You just need to fill it out. And so somebody needs to be able to be responsible for that. Not hard to do, but it's just hard to manage. And then ensuring that everything is labeled, and procedures for reviewing and update the workplace labeling system. So that is part of the labeling process. And then if you're generating products, this is a good labeling system. I like this one. But everything coming in your front door in your dock should all be labeled like that, with an NFPA and all that required information in there. Now, can you create your own labeling system? Yes, that's what we recommend. Very, very simple to do. You can buy pre-labeled labeling, whatever Avery or whatever similar to that, and then just print your name on it or handwrite your names in there. Use NFPA diamond, whatever you want to do. It's entirely up to you. A lot of flexibility here, but you must have good labeling practices. This is a really good one, having the exclamation there. And then here's some other examples. Let me cover the training requirements real quick. So the training, everybody needs to have training before they go to any department, when any new hazards are introduced and any non-routine tasks. So this goes for every employee. Now, does everybody in the entire facility need training on HazCom? My perspective is yes. I'm going to have admin trained on it, because you never know when they're going to go in the back of production, and there could be a potential exposure there. So we want to get everybody at least at an awareness level for HazCom and instruction on how to read a safety data sheet. It's just a good practice, in my opinion. You'll never go wrong with too much training. These are the different types of labeling. Again, there's a lot of different labeling. Each of these require their own training. But you can see there is quite a bit of types of training with DOT and various other labeling processes. And then here is the breakdown of a label. It has an identifier. What is the product? A signal word. Is it dangerous? Hazardous statement, and then precautionary statements, and a pictogram, and the name and address. These are really, really common these days. Labeling systems are pretty easy to come by. So you got the the diamond right there. And then you have various types of pictograms. You can see that these are pretty common in the working environment. And if you're new to this, it's okay. Reach out to ROI. We'll walk you through this HAZCOM program. This is something that needs to be addressed at every location. If you're a small printing shop and you think, oh, we don't have anything hazardous, you really do. You have products there that contain, some of them have toxins, a lot of them are flammable. We go into small printing shops, and we hear the same thing with oh, we're okay, we're fine. And then we start looking at their SDSs, and they're not. Even dentists have hazards. Doctors' offices have hazards. I go into warehouses all the time and don't really suspect to see much, and we find drums of acetone. Like, what are you using this for? Oh, we're using it to clean parts that come in from China that blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, do you have an SDS for it? Oh, no, we don't know what that is. So look at everything you're doing. Oh, fuel, diesel fuel, propane, paint. So many different things that companies don't even acknowledge that need safety data sheets, and they think, no, this doesn't apply to us. I don't know of any company that this doesn't apply to. I really can't think of any that it doesn't apply to. So please review your program, and if you have chemicals, here's another labeling system. These diamonds, they're still around. We see them. I'm not going to go too much into the NFPA diamonds. Local fire departments may require that. And you have the HMIS, and then you have some DOT requirements. So this could get into a pretty big program if you're not familiar with any of these. I'm not going to go into too much to the DOT side of it. My purpose is really just to give you an idea of how to manage your chemicals, what's required. You need to have training, whether you have a couple gallons of acetone to 10,000 gallon storage tanks. You need to have safety data sheets. You need to have regular training. Employees must not only know about chemicals, they must understand them. Why is that so important? Well, think about it. Think about 40 years ago when people were using all kinds of toxins and these really nasty chemicals in the workplace, and now they're dying of cancer and suing the company that they worked for 20 to 30 years, And the companies back then, they didn't do any training. They just, go to work. Well, it's not like that anymore. And if you have products and you have a business, you need to have training for your people, not just with HAZCOM, with every hazard in the workplace. It could come back and haunt you as a business owner, as a manager. I still to this day get subpoenaed every now and then for employees that have been injured from 10, 20, 30 years ago, and I have to testify. Did you work for so-and-so company at so-and-so dates? Yes. Did you guys have lead? Yes, we had lead on site. Did you have a lead awareness program? Yes, we did. Did you do training? Yes. We did all those things, but imagine if you weren't doing that. If you're using lead solder in a very small part of your business, you better have training on lead awareness and maybe even do some sampling and some air monitoring and some blood testing. I'm telling you, you better be doing that, because if you're not, you never know what's going to happen 10 years from now or maybe even sooner. So we want to make sure that if we're using any toxic chemicals, any flammable liquid, anything that can cause harm to anybody, we have a solid training program in place, not just for today, but for 10, 15 years from now. We just don't know what's going to happen. So give me a call, email me, text me. I'll give you my cell number, 714-520-1608. And again, I want to help each and every employee and employer when it comes to safety. We want to get everybody home at the end of the day. There's no reason we should have injuries on the job. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable in today's working place. We have too much technology, too much know-how to keep people safe. People should not be dying at 6,000 plus a year. It's just unacceptable. So join the YouTube channel. I look forward to doing this. I do it pretty much every week. I'm going to basically go through the OSHA high risk hazards, the top 10, whatever you want to call them, OSHA 10, whatever you want to, I'm going to pick different topics every week. I think we have the next several weeks scheduled. But I will keep doing this and have fun doing it. And if it helps somebody, great. Leave a comment, join the YouTube channel, reach out to me, call me. I'm always available. Again, my cell number is 714-520-1608. God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your weekend.